question. I wish you hadn't told me that.
So what do you think has been the Antiques Roadshow secret over the years, why it's remained so popular?
I think the secret, really, to my mind, is the fact that there aren't any actors.
Everyone comes in hoping that what they've got is going to be come along with great expectations. So it is essential that the experts should be masters of diplomacy. Tread softly, or you tread on my dreams.
We were doing a show in Cork, and a lady queued for 3 hours, and she sat down opposite me, and I said, "What have you got?" And she unwrapped a bit of tissue paper, and inside was a blue plastic pencil sharpener. And I looked at it and said, "Well, I'm afraid it's of small commercial value, as you probably know." And she said, "Oh no, that doesn't matter. I just love the pencil sharpener, and I wanted to show it to you." And that, in a way, encapsulated the essence of the roadshow.
All see a flashlight and the camera lens.
Okay?
Okay, if you can, then you're in the picture. If you can't, that's it.
Are you uncomfortable? You're not too squat? No. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3.
The Antiques Roadshow, a unique phenomenon in British broadcasting and indeed in British life. Sunday afternoons just wouldn't be the same without it. In this special programme, we'll be looking at how the Roadshow has transferred abroad, and we'll be going behind the scenes to look at programmes as they're being made. We'll also be listening to many of the experts in conversation with devotees just like you. Devotees, well, perhaps they're more than that. It's really the story of a 21-year love affair.
It's not the best to be sitting here talking to you.
That's kind of you. I'm excited myself.
I developed a bit of a crush on you, I remember longer. Well, I do like cuddly people, being on the cuddly side.
Yeah, thank you very much. I suppose we weighed quite a hefty weight to go. People often refer to me, they call me avuncular. And then I wonder what it... I looked it up in the dictionary and I thought it
like
said
an
fat.
uncle. No,
like
an uncle. I mean, how suitable I should be talking to you.
Well, no, you aren't. I'm an uncle. Well, I think I would prefer a mug like that myself to a clock, but that's me, a porcelain man.
But Chinese porcelain made by the Chinese is very often extremely plain. It was, as far as I know, the first major television concept where the public could come along in their thousands and get themselves on telly, and two, actually see how it's done and realize what enormous patience and charm and all those sort of things that we have in order to get the program on the road.
But I mean, we've seen now for 21 years how it was. Was it like that right from the beginning?
Of course, we didn't know nearly enough about sitting in front of a camera and forgetting it, which is something you have to learn.
You can stroke him, he's quite harmless. Quite harmless.
See, I think that the secret of the success of this show is just about enthusiasm, that television is at its best when there's a group of people, enthusiasts, who know what they're talking about, and that excitement transmits itself across the box, and that's really what this show is about. That's its charm. Would you agree with that?
I think it's contagious because it's one of those wonderful opportunities where you, if you've got an object and you're not sure, because it does happen, it happens an awful lot, and it's wonderful to be able to turn around to the Henry Sandons of this world, and the John Sandons for that matter, the David Batties.
The programme is very much a team programme. We all sit at different tables, and the cue is directed to you. You don't have any option as to who you get or what they've got. If somebody unwraps something which is worth recording, then you simply hold them there, you say, "I'd like to record this." And in fact, there is not really rivalry, because if one gets something which one feels somebody else could record better, you give it to them, or should do.
What have been your most sort of interesting moments, the ones where you found real sort of riches?
The object that gave me the greatest pleasure was actually a gold plaque that was discovered at Farnham some years ago. And a colleague passed it over to me and said, "You like old things, have a look at this." Do you know anything about its history?
Well, I know that it comes from a tomb in Rome. In Rome.
Yes. In Rome?
In Rome.
Oh, that's good. Good. Well, that fits in well. I think that this is 16th century Italian.
Yeah.
We subsequently had it examined after the the show, and I was right, and it was absolutely genuine.
I think I saw that one. Was this not the lady with the beautiful grey, white hair?
That's right.
And you told her the price, and she was completely blank.
I would think that it must be worth somewhere between 30 and 50,000 pounds.
30 and 50. And yeah.
Did you ask her? I mean, had she understood the price?
Yes, well, it's funny you should say that, because I had exactly the same reaction. After the recording was finished, I sort of said, did that surprise you at all? And she thought about it for a couple of seconds and said, yes, I suppose it did, but my father did have the Rubens of the same scene. Have you thought about the value?
No.
Well, it would be nice to identify it with certainty, but I think I can say now, anyway, a minimum of 25,000. Grandfather's gold watch?
I don't believe it. It actually belongs to my son.
Well, that, of course, is the completely opposite, isn't it? They were really, I think, really were stunned by the price.
I suppose the basis side of it all, of course, which one watches with tremendous attention, is the moment when the value is given and it's enormous and the person hasn't expected it there.
No, well, that's
Their faces are wonderful.
Yes, well, they're lottery winners in a way, aren't they?
Yes.
You know, and it's great fun. I mean, one never is actually there when somebody's watching the television for the lottery numbers come up, but it must be a rather exciting moment to see them all whooping with joy. And
well, or just said, no.
Can't be, I know. It was only grannies.
I don't believe it, things like that.
Yeah.
Now, in all these 13 years, Barney, there must have been moments when a total surprise, out of nowhere, somebody brought you something you just couldn't have expected to see.
I suppose it's really not my subject, and I was very lucky to do it because this lovely young woman who'd been to a car boot sale came with a whole lot of stuff and was sent to my table. Miscellaneous this, miscellaneous that, and suddenly there was this little cup. And do tell me where you got it.
It was actually at a car boot sale in Exeter. It was on a stall and it was a bit grubby looking and it was 20p, and it was the fact that it was 20p and I couldn't resist it, and I just thought, well, I'll buy it and see what it's like and then what it is.
There's a mark under here which is AM, which is a Finnish maker called Anders Neverlainen. And Anders Neverlainen was working for Fabergé. And I said, well, what would you say if I told you it was worth £2,000? And she went,
I can't swear, can I?
So I said, well, you can if you like. We can always cut it out. And she said, bloody hell!
I've got to ask you something very important. I'm terribly impressed when, someone puts something in your hands and you pick it up and you look, just a cursory glance, you say, well, of course, what this is I think you watch it, and there's that, and there's that, and you at once know all these wonderful things. Now, tell me the truth, truly, hand on heart. Do you really look at them in advance so that you've got a chance to pick up some of this information?
Well, we sometimes get the chance. Sometimes as a camera pops over your shoulder and you're talking and you don't know what you've been saying. But other times, of course, when the programme is recorded, the item is recorded, then you do get a little chance to have a look at it. And of course, really, you pick out the things that you like yourself and really want to enthuse about. I mean, it's no good talking about something you don't really like. And this little owl, what can you tell me about the little owl?
The little owl belongs to my father, and he can remember him when he was a little boy.
I love Ozzy. He's my personal favourite. This isn't the original. This was a copy made by a very fine potter in North Wales. But when the lady brought this into the Roadshow in Northampton, I swooned with delight because I love the object. I think it's a very rare thing. Made in Staffordshire, somewhere around about 1700, 1720.
Oh my
What's
word.
that, 270 years old?
Good gracious.
I found out that she had no idea of the value, so I built her up her expectations until she was getting excited, and I told her what I thought, £20,000, and the poor soul went quite white and still. She said,
Gracious.
£20,000 and £30,000.
Oh my word.
Well, then she said, I brought it in on a bus. So I said, well, go home by taxi with you. Because, I mean, the worry then sets in, you see. This is the only thing that I hate about the Roadshow, really, because, you know, you tell someone it's terribly valuable when they just love it as a little friend. And she sold it at auction, and it went for over £20,000, luckily. And I found out afterwards that she'd used the money to adopt orphan children.
Oh, my
which
word.
so it brought tears to my eyes.
Oh, that's too much.
There's one element which was absolutely traditional, which conformed to, I think I remember, and you would know because you're the ceramicist, there was a Wealden owl, wasn't there, that had been a doorstop, been keeping a kitchen door open.
Well, I was actually there when that came in, and it was John Sandon, with whom I'm mistaken sometimes, I don't know how, but John was sitting there, I was sitting here, and Henry, John's dad, was sitting there. Now, it has to be said, there's a certain element of competition. When you do a roadshow, you go and you want to do some recording. You don't want to go away having recorded nothing. And poor old Henry was sitting on my left, looking more and more like a teapot, because he hadn't recorded anything all day, whereas son, Junior, had recorded several items. And Henry was like this, and suddenly John turns very silently towards us with a cardboard box, the client sitting opposite him, cardboard box, and reveals the top of this bald head. And we, in unison, Henry and I, look into this box. We know what it is. It's a Staffordshire late 17th, early 18th century owl. And Henry, poker-faced as ever, says, "You lucky little sod."
Do you like my place? It's
Well, it's small, but it's home.
it is, yeah. We like it. We like it. I've been walking around with a crick neck. Oh, you've been to Greenwich, have you, Eric? Yeah, that's right. You know.
Yes, I'll get to the osteopath tomorrow. It's an enormous queue out
I
there,
know.
even with this weather.
I know.
You're going to be busy.
Yeah, I hope so. Is it straight?
Nice, yes. Straighten you up. Get
You saw that. You know, Newman did straighten it both times.
Keep them, you know, have to keep them smart.
And I've met your other half over there.
Have you? Yes.
Yes.
He's probably gone to the books.
I was rather tempted to say, Brian, could you just tell me to move from there to there? He said, why? I said, well, I just want to say I've been directed by you. That's all. You know.
What have we got there?
Montgomery, Field Marshal, his autograph. But Clive's very good at autographs. I'm all right with military, but he might have more of a definitive value for his. Hey Clive, can I butt in?
Yes, of course.
Montgomery's autograph.
Oh, yes.
What do you think?
That's absolutely fine.
Didn't you have an amazing find a few years ago?
Oh, the famous salt cellars. Yes. Oh, those were extraordinary. I mean, he had no idea what they were. He said, well, I think they're brass. They are really tremendous salt cellars. Have you any idea of, what do you think they're worth? I haven't any idea whatsoever, no. Well, yes. Well, it's difficult. I see. I think I'd have to be looking at £40,000. Good Lord. You do surprise me.
Wouldn't it
So
be
they
thrilling if
bought
you found something like that this morning?
It would be fun.
It's early.
It would be jolly. Is it early days yet?
You always seem to look as though all of you are having such a great time.
Well, yes. I mean, in a sense, we do. Sometimes I can tell you the you just look behind you, and there's a queue just for the silver as far as the eye can see, and it's 3 o'clock, and you still haven't had a bite of lunch, and you're up to here with Perrier water. And all you want is a gin and tonic, and nobody will bring you.
No, that's mean, isn't it?
What's next, Jeannie?
We're going to be doing the brass fender and we're putting them up on pedestals.
Oh, great.
Well, you're not going anywhere from here. I mean, it'll be a straight edit after you've basically established that you need some help.
Are you as amazed as I am, darling, how many people turn up? I mean, the queue has been there, for the last 3 hours and doesn't seem to get any smaller.
And apparently the experts stay until the last person,
know.
which is incredible, isn't it?
But look at, you see, people are still coming, aren't they?
Yes.
You can't beat the great British public to come out and do their stuff. I mean, if I was to tell you that, I think it was it 4,000 people queued in Accrington in February in the snow, and I think they had about 4 cases of hypothermia. But I've queued for 3 hours, it's free, and I'm going in, And so without the great British public, I can tell you this programme wouldn't be quite the success that it is.
It is extraordinary. The British just adore queuing. You'll get somebody who's queued for 3-4 hours, and they get to your table, and you unwrap a plate, and you look at it, and you look at the back, and you look at them, and on the back it says microwave safe. And they've queued for 4 hours for this thing. It is weird.
This week we brought the Antiques Roadshow to the Mediterranean island of Malta. This week we brought the Antiques Roadshow for the first time to France. This week we brought the Antiques Roadshow to the Caribbean and the colourful cosmopolitan island of Jamaica.
Now, what about the international roadshow? It must be a different kettle of fish altogether, because recognising miscellaneous from your own country is something that you've grown up with and you've always got a clue. But if you go to France or Jamaica, it's completely different.
It's completely different. The main problem is a sociological one, which is the concept of the queue is entirely English. And so when you go abroad, there is no queue. There is simply a heaving mass of people who all think they're next.
I think there were sort of fisticuffs breaking out in the ceramics queue as they sort of got their way forward to the expert. Totally unlike somewhere like Canterbury, where just as I was at the crucial moment with my client saying, "And have you ever wondered how much it might be worth?" the fire alarm went off. The whole hall had to be cleared. We were outside in the rain for 45 minutes. We came back again after 45 minutes, and in a typical English way, every person got back into the same place in their queue. It's quite extraordinary.
We are recording, so stand by. Well, now for our anniversary look at the archive. 21 years of the Antiques Roadshow.
Have you been into the scanner? Would you like to do some directing, Brian, do you think?
Would you trust me?
Enormous number of people, aren't there, here today?
I don't know, I've not actually got the count, but I would imagine about 1,500, 2,000.
And they're still
something like that.
arriving.
Yes, they're very patient, aren't they?
Yes.
It's a roadshow tradition. You have to take your time.
And they all bring
to get
picnics, don't they, in the queue?
Well, ones who really know bring seats. But they always make friends with their neighbours.
How long, Hugh, have you been associated with this programme?
Well, I joined, Brian. I wasn't people think I was the first presenter, and I wasn't at all. There were two presenters before me, Bruce Parker and Angela Rippon.
Welcome to this, the first of the BBC's Antiques Roadshows. It's the first of 8 programmes in which we're visiting towns and cities in England, Scotland and Wales.
The fact is that most people have in their home something that they'd like to know the value or the history of, and now's your chance.
Now, as you know, this is the first Antiques Roadshow that I've done, although I have been associated with programmes about antiques for many years. The format of the show has remained exactly the same for all those years. For 21 years, format exactly the same. But every programme is different because the places we go to, the people we meet, and the things we see. So the format, in other words, is constantly refreshing itself week after week. And the programme we do from Greenwich today will be totally unlike the programme we did last week.
And there must be always the excitement of thinking this programme may turn up Tutankhamun's
death
mask,
yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
But also, isn't it a big success, this programme in Japan?
It is. It has a cult following in Japan.
And you're dubbed into Japanese.
Yes, we're dubbed in.
I'd love to see you in Japanese.
So would I, and I've never seen.
ここはグラッドストーン陶磁器博物館。ストークオントレントに残っている数少ない瓶型の窯のうち5つがここにあります。
A Japanese television company mounted an antiques roadshow there this summer, and it was particularly for British antiques.
西洋アンティーク鑑定会へようこそ。
The roadshow itself is very, very big over there. And incredibly, when I landed in the airport in Tokyo, walked around Tokyo, I was recognized by lots of people. They came out and said, "Oh, Roadshow, Roadshow."
It was very interesting because obviously the whole culture of Japan is very different to the UK. And the appointments were made. People didn't queue, they wrote in and offered their objects. And then there was a great ceremony when we met the client. Obviously we had simultaneous translation going on.
A girl with
名前がないんですか。それはかわいそうに。でないと人形がいじけてしまいますよ。
It was a very sort of sedate and rather slightly unemotional way of dealing with the objects.
柿右衛門の特徴はスケールブルーと呼ばれる青い細かな模様にあります。
And it was marvellous hearing our chaps sort of do this. And I thought it was marvellous. We had a great time.
Very impressive to hear yourself speaking Japanese. I can well imagine.
Very, very impressive. I've got up no end in my own estimation now.
We had to figure out a way of how to make this show mobile for long distances. That was number one. Number two is we had a lot more people to accommodate. That was our hope originally, that there would be a lot of people.
You mean the clients coming in wanting to have their... Now, you say you have a lot more people. How many people come to a roadshow?
In the beginning, not many, and my knees were very sore from praying, please let them come. But now, in entering our third season, we take in 7,000.
Now, hang on. You say you take in 7,000. Now, do I assume from that you have to turn people away?
We, in fact, have to let people go away. We close the doors and we make major apologies and say, next time.
With such a large attendance, how do you cope with the number of objects that come in? Do you have to limit them, or?
With the American Roadshow,
yes,
we ask the public to bring no more than 2 objects to the show.
And do they stick to that?
Some do and some don't. I mean, we've had situations where people have hidden things underneath their coats, and they go up to the jewelry person and they basically, they say, well, what did you bring us? And they open up their coats and they say, pick one. Which one do you think is the most expensive?
3 take.
Up on the top, they
Tilt up.
compensated for
Good.
this to being too
Hold.
big by
30
making this
Perfect.
smaller.
Good. Ready to take.
This is what we've got, Susan, okay? Yep. We've got the ever-popular, this is the umpire sign ball, correct?
In England, we draw from a pool of perhaps 75 experts. And to each roadshow, we may bring 20, 25. Do you have the same sort of numbers?
I believe we have a pool of people we can call upon. I think it's about 380 and about a 220 very active pool of people. And we use about, depending on the size of the city that we're going to, anywhere between 50 to 80 appraisers at each event.
Oh, that's amazing.
I just want to say, when we first saw you, my heart started going like this. Feel it. You can feel it right now. It's going bump, bump, bump.
Yes, right.
And mine did too. Leslie looked over and said, Lee, is that what I think it is? And as we got closer, you had this upside down, and we saw that label. And Les went up to the label and went and he said, it isn't, is it? And I said, it is. And so it's really one of the most exciting moments I've ever had. Les?
Yeah, absolutely.
The Antiques Roadshow experts in the United States do not get paid. They pay their flights, their travel, their ground transportation, their hotel rooms, and you might also wonder, well, what do they get out of it? They get a lot of exposure, they get good publicity from the show. And in terms of the rules and regulations of our show is that there is absolutely no solicitation permitted at all on the set. We do allow, however, their business cards at a table at the exit. So if you came in and you liked my style and what I was doing for you, on the way out, you might consider grabbing the card. And a week later, a year later, 15 years later, you might call me up and say, hey, I need to sell that. Are you interested?
Hi, I'm Chris Jussel. Next we kick off a brand new season of Antiques Roadshow from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Do you find people follow the roadshow from city to city, almost as groupies?
Absolutely. I ran into a couple in Texas, standing in line in Dallas. And I got to chatting. I said, where are you from? And they said, Pittsburgh. And I said, oh, we were there earlier this year. And they said, yes, we know, we were there. We came to see you here. And I said, do you have friends in Texas? No, we just drove down to the roadshow. And I have to tell you, that's about a 20-hour drive.
Now, you say you tried to give this away?
Yes, I tried to give it to my friend Ann, and she wouldn't take it. She said, oh, you better keep it, because she has a plantation she could put it in. And she said, no, you better keep that, Judy. And I said, okay. Well, then I tried to give it to my kids. They didn't want it.
I'll tell you one thing.
I'm happy I did.
She is a good friend.
Yeah.
Because if you sold this at auction, I would say, without a doubt, that it would probably bring $8,000 to $10,000.
Yes, yes.
What you gonna do with all that money?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna pay dealers off.
Well, you pay off your department store bill.
Yes, that's what I'm gonna do. 8 to 10. Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
Är det för mycket?
Nej, ungefär det.
Well, no Nobel Prizes for guessing what this is. This is a standard Antiques Roadshow queue. But we're not in England, we are in Stockholm following the Swedish version of the show.
Mycket välkomna till säsongens första antikrunda. Stadshuset i Stockholm, Blå hallen.
Ja, det är en väldigt vacker typ av
Är det en god pibel?
Med pärlor.
Pärlor det hela?
Hela.
Yes, but you're doing two jobs. But A, you're the presenter, and B, you're also directing this camera.
Yes. Our staff is probably a bit smaller than yours.
How long have you been doing this?
10 years. All the time, since we started back in 89, I think it was.
Over how long a period are you recording the series?
17 days.
So what do you do for the rest of the year?
I'm a presenter in a cooking program.
Excuse me, I'm going to butt in.
Yeah, okay.
I'm terribly sorry to butt in. You are not from the same as the Antique London camera, are you?
No, Swedish television,
Swedish
yes,
TV.
but another team.
So why are you doing this?
We are doing, what do you call in English, behind the scenes.
I see.
Yeah.
So you're making a program about the program.
Only 5 minutes program.
And now we're making a program about you making
exactly.
a program. I'll leave you alone.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, this table is labelled Leksaker and Technique, which means toys and mechanical instruments.
Are you expert in violins? No.
I play a cello.
Oh, I see. Then you better take over here.
What? Cellos are much bigger than this. I know it's not a cello. What do you get out of this program?
Get out. I learn.
You learn?
Of course. You see so many things.
You're not here to learn, you're here to teach.
Yes, I know, but at the same time I always learn something.
We're at Ostindisk and Textil, which means Asian and textile works of art. So, let's see what happens.
Därför att antingen har jag köpt den på market eller också har jag köpt den hemma i vårt bostadshus.
She can't quite remember when she
Där
bought
kom
it.
det små män med små knyten och sålde saker till. Very old, very nice.
Very old, very nice.
Det är mitten på 60-talet, 64, 65.
Koreansk glas.
It's Korean.
Korean?
I agree.
You agree still?
Vi ska inte stå i
Ska inte jobba för högtryck.
Ja då, ja just det. Det ska visas till vänster. Där.
We've got an interesting box here, which is just about to be recorded. I have to say that would never get on BBC television before 9 o'clock.
Is that still so?
It is.
Because 10 years ago when we were working together, they were a little bit worried about these things, but I thought that you had changed your mind.
We haven't. And the problem is that we have many young people, like my daughters, watching it, and they will say, Mummy, Daddy, they will freeze frame. What's he doing? And it's a bit difficult.
Why haven't you told your kids? All about flowers and bees.
I leave that to David Attenborough in the wildlife program.
Går det bra?
Maud, this is your schedule?
This is my schedule.
Is it filling up nicely?
It really is. You know, I have 4 more times to go.
So that's very good.
That's very good.
You're pleased with the program?
I am. I think so. Now, you know, we have 3 more hours to be here.
Yes.
And so if people come with better things than we have here,
then the competition.
Then the competition comes in, right? Then we have to choose.
Yeah.
Very hard. It's tough.
Oh, good. Well, it sounds like the makings of a good program.
Yes, it really is. I think so.
It's a measure of the Roadshow's popularity over 21 years that it is copied abroad. But for many people, the real reason behind the programme's continued success is the experts. They've all become familiar faces, friends who appear regularly in our living rooms every Sunday afternoon. But they all share the limelight with you.
I'm here in this programme to say how much I enjoy watching the Antiques Roadshow. But one of the things I wanted to say was, apart from enjoying the experts, who are always beautifully dressed. Have you noticed that? They have bow ties and things, and lovely. And the way they use their hands, they never use their fingers, they use the back of their hands all the time. But apart from that, one of the things that fascinates me is not so much the objects, but the people. Everybody is concentrated on the object, the painting, or whatever it may be, and you see the real person on the television. The real person.
Yes.
Very rare.
Yes.
Very rare.
There was a lady at Chatsworth who had 3 brooches in a row.
A limerick starting.
It does, doesn't it? It absolutely does. I know. What you've done is you looked hard and you've acquired something really quite dramatically valuable and something really that doesn't happen very often in anybody's life. Is that coming as a bit of a shock to you? Shall I tell you exactly why?
Yeah.
Because this little pink heart here, this throbbing little pink heart with diamonds, is made by Carl Fabergé.
It isn't. It can't be.
It is. It jolly well is. Court jeweller to Nicholas and Alexandra, maker of the imperial Easter eggs.
She bought it in a local sale room and she was absolutely jubilant, I must say. She wept.
I don't think there would be any chance of you acquiring this jewel under any other circumstances for less than £10,000 today.
I want my friend to come.
I know. And come and hug you. Yes, quite right.
What's the ultimate appeal, do you think, for the average viewer? Is it that keen greed thing, or is it the appreciation of the objects?
If you are turned on by money, grubby money, you can watch the programme and think, I know a lot of people play a sort of game at home. They say, well, I think that's worth £1,000. What do you think, Gran? Oh, I think that's worth £3,000. What do you think, Grandpa? You know, you can sort of have this little competition. Then the expert does his spiel and he says 6,000. There's a lot of told you so at home. So there's a sort of an amusement. Other people are interested in the people themselves. How did that strange-looking man ever come by that really lovely object? And sometimes that's revealed in the programme, and sometimes it's left to you to imagine.
The people are what makes the programme. That's the excitement, really. And the one I remember always was Mrs. Ambrose, who's become a sort of groupie of the programme. She was from Liverpool, and she was sitting in her kitchen one day, and her sister phoned up and said, come to the Roadshow with me. And she said, oh, I've got nothing to bring. And the sister said, oh, you've got the family teapot. And she said, I can't bring that filthy old thing. Won't let me in. Of course, we'll let, people bring the most amazing things.
My sister brought an angel, and it was made of marble, and it was heavy. She was older than me. So I took her angel in my arms, and I had my own in a holdall and pushed on the floor. And they were letting them in 6 at a time. So now they give the thing 6 kicks along the floor.
It was Wieldenware, mid-18th century, just a runny, sort of greeny brown glaze and engine turning, not a very exciting looking thing, but a rare thing. Because you know its history, you think it's got a bit of age to it, do you?
Yes, well, when my mother-in-law gave it to me, she said to me, look after it now, because she said, it's over 100 years old, she said.
She was wonderful. It was like flicking a switch. She remembered her mother pouring tea for the farm workers out of it. She remembered how it got cracked and chipped. She kept it on top of a wardrobe, wrapped up in a tea towel. It was all great stuff. Then she came to the end. And I thought that I would tease her with the price in a way that nobody had ever done a tease before. You think it might be worth several £100s?
I don't know, I don't think so.
You wouldn't have thought so?
No.
No. So you mean if I told you it was worth £600 or £800, you'd be really shocked, would you?
Oh, I would.
Right. So if I told you it was worth £1,500, you'd be really shocked.
Oh, you're kidding, aren't you?
Well, I am kidding, actually.
Oh.
It's actually worth about £5,000 to £6,000. Are you all right?
Oh, yeah, you mean it,
I mean
you?
it, absolutely. I thought that was the end of it. Wasn't. Because 2 weeks later, she phoned up Southern. She said she wanted to sell her teapot. Came in for sale. I didn't know because I'm not in the department. But I went up there one day and there it was. And I said, "There's the Liverpool teapot." 2 of my colleagues said, "Yes." And when they do that, you've done something wrong. I said, "What's the problem?" One of them said, "It's cracked." I said, "Yeah, it's cracked, but it's a rare pot." Now I said, "It's chipped." I said, "Yeah, it's cracked and chipped. It's a rare pot." And in unison they said £5,000. And that's what I'd done. I'd overquoted. And always this problem when you're on the roadshow, when you've got to come up with a price and you want the client to go, woo, you come in with too much money. It's a terrible temptation. We have to hold ourselves back. And I'd done it. I'd overquoted. But we were stuck. We couldn't backtrack because 18 million people were going to hear me say £5,000.
We took it to Sotheby's. My word. little ones were coming round first, little ones like that, and they were bringing 4,000. So my children were saying to me, they're bringing 4,000, you know, you'll get money. Anyway, when he come round, he said, we start off at 8,000, 8,500, 9,000, 9,500, 10,000.
Sold for £17,500.
Goodness.
But it wasn't the end of the story, because Mrs. Ambrose went out with her cheque from Sotheby's. She bought her council house with the money. So she's now living in her teapot.
In her teapot. So do you ever know what happens to the things afterwards? I mean, if you sit and you say to somebody, well, that's worth £10,000, do they tend to sell it or hang on to it, or do you never know?
Well, I think it's actually a rather sad syndrome that you could be sitting there with a teapot. You drink your tea out of it, and I'll come along and tell you, or somebody will come along and tell you it's worth £1,000. The immediate reaction, it seems to me, of the great British public is to go and sell it. But what generally happens, of course, is that an object like that gets sold. The person collects their 2,500 or 1,000 or whatever it is. What do? They go off on a trip to the Bahamas, or they buy themselves some new fitted carpet. The one thing they don't have, having sold the thing, actually, is either the object or, in a very few months, the money.
What's the best bit? I mean, is it just waiting for something absolutely amazing to turn up? Or is it a look on someone's face when they're told something is worth a vast sum of money? Or is it just a hint of naughty? The look on someone's face when they think they've got a constable, it turns out to be a daub.
Well, you have to let some people down. I try to let them down a bit gently, you know. When I say to them, I say, well, it's not worth much yet, you know. And I put it away for 100 years and it will be, you know. I've taken to say, well, you know, the contents of your bag aren't very good. She says, no, but I do like the bag.
On all the road shows, there are always in the background enormous pieces of furniture. Now, are these props which are hawked around the country and sort of swapped around, or do people bring them in enormous pantechnicons?
No, you see them in the queue with them on their back.
Well, they are enormous. They're never talked about, but they're always there.
Well, I tell you what
they do. It worries me, these large bookcases and stuff.
The way they do that is that obviously people can't bring in furniture.
No.
Or even huge pictures. So they do a furniture run the week before, where it's advertised the BBC are going to be the area, people write in, and they literally go to their homes, visit.
And it's real people's homes.
Mr. Taylor, this is Hey, hello, you poor old dog. So that's the beast. Isn't that fun? How long have you had that?
I brought it from Canada when I came in '74.
And you think it was made there, do you?
No, I don't have a clue.
You don't?
Sorry.
If we can take it in, and it would be jolly nice to think we could, but we'll be able to let you know that by Monday at the latest, probably. The experts on next Thursday will be able to tell you all about it. I've been doing it for long enough. I won't say not to be enthusiastic, but I hope not to be able to give away that enthusiasm. In fact, I play it very, very low key. I pretty well say I know nothing. Whatever happens with the furniture, it would be jolly nice to have this there. And I'll keep the photographs. Have we got Eric Mills there?
Yes, we have.
I think it's just up his street. That's lovely. Last week, we were called to see quite a large tea service, which is outside the remit of the furniture round by definition, but people do send us photographs of China as well. And looking at the tea service and casting my eyes around the room, I suddenly was aware that it was actually full of rather good Georgian furniture, and they simply hadn't mentioned it because they lived with it. And that's where the difficulty starts, or the diplomacy starts, because you want the Georgian table. You're not actually terribly interested in the thing you've gone to see, but you've got to maintain an interest in both of it, but at the same time not sort of overload the van with all the also-rans when the time comes to pick up. Now this is the other variation we get. We either have a photograph, second best is a drawing, or the other one is, of course, no photograph. But here we have the drawing. So let's see how good they are. That is a pretty good drawing. That was exactly what I was expecting to see.
Great, isn't it?
Is there anything else you'd like to show me while I'm here?
Well, I mentioned on the phone that my father was editor of the Dandy.
It was you. It was you.
Yes.
Right.
And those were Christmas cards that I got from some of the artists. Well, not just me, some to my brother as well.
What we'd like you to do
is, can you be there for 9:30
Yes.
on Thursday morning,
Mhm.
and bring all of this
Mhm.
and any other sort of artifacts you feel are interesting.
Wasn't
I mean,
it?
that is so typical of what the furniture run is
Yeah.
about. You go and see a
Finding
drawing
something-
of a
yeah.
piece of furniture,
Brilliant.
and then you come across something quite remarkable like that.
It's
Whether
lovely.
it makes a record or not, I don't know, but the point is we've got a good, early,
Yeah.
positive, possible starter
And Hilary will
to kick
love
the
it.
show off, and Hilary will love it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
It is a lovely thing.
Well, it was a friend of mine in Carnoustie who was here one day, and she said, "Oh, you must get that into the Roadshow."
Now, on the phone last night, you said the other table is at your sister's house.
My daughter's.
Daughter.
My daughter. I said sister, I think, to you, but
I think-
my daughter. Do you know anything about these safety things? You know,
Burglar alarms?
but, yes, because.
Oh, my word.
Because
Do you know the number?
Yes, I've got the number and I've got all the instructions, but whether I should... But I think you can see the table actually from the window, from
But-
outside. There's nothing wrong with it, there are no bits out of it or anything.
Well, there's one bit there.
Oh, is there? Where?
You see on the edge there?
Oh.
And in the photograph, you can actually see there's been a bit out on the
Oh,
base.
you have a photo of it?
Yeah. So it's not absolutely perfect, but it's a jolly interesting thing. And you think your daughter will be happy for us to come and collect it?
You know what this is made of?
Coal.
Exactly, coal. It's called parrot coal, a Scottish word for cannel coal, which is just the English equivalent. And it's the best quality coal, as far as I'm aware, that could have been mined in the 19th century. Well, the one in London is on the retail market, and I can't apply that to yours, but it gives an indication, is in a very high quality shop at over £40,000.
Staggering. Well, moments like that are all part of the Roadshow's continuing appeal. But as many of the experts can testify, life on the road or on the road show isn't always plain sailing.
People are so strange. I mean, there's a woman who had a minor heart attack. Obviously, we have medical people there all the time. An ambulance had come. She'd been put on the stretcher. She was wheeled out to go to the hospital. And as she got to the door, I heard her voice saying, "Wait a minute, I haven't seen the expert." And she insisted that the ambulance men took her out of the ambulance, wheeled her back in the hall, and she came over to me, clutching on her stomach, lying flat, something wrapped up in newspaper, which I hastily unwrapped it, and I said, "I assure you, madam, this isn't worth dying for." And she was swept away and made a full recovery. But the object at that point was more important to her than anything else.
Her life might have been in your hands if you'd said it's worth absolutely nothing or it's worth £25,000. I mean, who knows what
Well, it
might
was a
have
terrible
happened.
sort of doctor's dilemma, you know, the truth or not the truth. But anyway,
Indeed.
she survived.
I'm a Mrs. Malaprop, so I do put the wrong words to the wrong things, and particularly when I'm under pressure, which I am. I mean, you don't have time to rehearse on the roadshow. It is almost live, if you like. And there was one particular time, and I've never lived that down, because this woman, as is often the case, a brown paper bag came in with this woman, or this woman came in with a brown paper bag, and out of it came a naked male doll. Wrapped up.
Yes, I asked you if you had to.
Now, it's very unusual to see a male doll, particularly to see the difference. And I exclaimed, and we were filming, and I said, "Oh my goodness, I've never seen one quite like that before, with all its..." And I complete mental blank. Oh, it's got everything. I'm not sure this is correct for a family show. Very unusual for a doll to have his... I knew it was a Sunday, it was a family show. I couldn't say what I wanted to say, so I came out with genitive parts, is it called? And I was on a table with Michael Newman, who looked up nonchalantly and said, "Genitalia, Bunny," and went back. And I went completely red in the face.
A lady came into Glasgow with a box, and the guy said, "What have you got in there?" And she said, "A penis." And he said, "What? What did you say?" She said, "A penis." And he said, "I think we'd better see this." And he opened it out, and it was silver, tea service. And he said, "I thought you said it was a penis." She said, "Ah, it is that, electroplated nickel silver, e-penis."
You must get a lot of laughs on the show, though, don't you? But that we don't see.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness you don't
what
see
sort of
it.
stuff do people bring in expecting it to be a precious antique?
Well, I suppose one of the worst things that happened was somebody who'd been queuing for a long time came to my table and he put down a handle. Now, it was a metal handle with a wooden end to it, obviously for winding something. He said, "Now then, you're an expert. Tell me what that's off."
I think of Blackburn, and I never forget this chap turning up in my queue. I'm doing the ceramics table that day, but we've got another sign that says crockery, you see, when we're up north. And this chap stood in front of me, and I'm not joking, Michael. He was wearing a raincoat. This is flaming June. A raincoat tied with a piece of string. He must have won it at the Matthews final. And he had a flat cap, and he had a pair of glasses with lenses so strong, if he'd have looked at the sun, he'd have burnt his eyeballs out, And he put a piece of silver plate in front of me. He's been in the wrong queue for 3 hours. And I knew he was trouble, because he said, "Now then," because they say they're up there, don't they? Everything starts with now then. "Now then," he said, "tell me what that is, and I'll tell you if you're right."
I said, "Well, it might be off a gramophone or a phonograph or, well, almost anything, really. Do you want to tell me what it's off?" He said, "No, I don't want to tell you what it's off. You tell me what it's off."
So I said, "Well, it was a bowl with a crenelated rim. It's called a Monteith." "A what?" "A Monteith." He said, I said, "The idea is you put crushed ice in it and you put wine glass balls into the crushed ice so they're nice and cold when you pour your white wine. And it's a Victorian one, but they were around in the Georgian days." "You think that's what it is?" "Yes." He said, "You know nothing." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I've queued here for 3 hours for you to tell me nothing."
I said, "Well, I really can't be sure, but it could have been any of the 12 things that I've listed above." He said, "Oh, right." He walked off.
And he said, "And what's more, all this business about crushed ice, load of tosh." He actually said something else. And he said, "In the middle, you put a pineapple. And all around the edge, all those indentations are specifically designed to take a banana all the way around."
And then he said to his friend in a loud stage whisper, he said, "There you go. They call themselves experts and they know bugger all."
And then he stormed out and said, "I won't queue here for 3 hours. There's a young lad at the front of this queue, fresh out of school, knows bugger all." And he stormed out the auditorium. And at moments like that, I thought, he's probably a relative somewhere.
No, he was right.
What do you think is going to happen to the show now? Do you think it's going to go on for another 21 years?
Well, that's a depressing thought. I would feel coming along with my Zimmer frame,
Wouldn't matter, would it?
Yeah. It has no momentum and it has no inertia, if you like. It's just toddling. So there's no reason why it should stop.
If you take the experience, the combined experience of all the experts, not a nice word, but all the people that are there doing the job I do, there are 30 odd. That's the greatest travelling brain, encyclopedia, and we take it round the country and it's there for anyone to pick in and to take what they can out of it. And I think that's a wonderful thing to have
After
achieved.
a huge audience that you...
Oh, yes, exactly. Yes, I think it's sort of 10 million or more. Yes. But it's the most wonderful privilege to have been connected with it.
The BBC has launched several forums on the Antiques website, from amazing finds to furniture and new collectibles. Experts from the Antiques Roadshow will be dropping in to answer your questions. The address is www.bbc.co.uk/antiques.